Hi everyone, this is Ben from Navigo. So basically what we're going to be going through today is delving into analytics with the unlikeliest of tools, the humble org chart. So as I mentioned, my name is Ben and I'll be your MC today. So big thanks for coming along, and we'll be starting in just a couple of seconds. So just as an FYI, for anyone who is coming along today or running a little bit late, the webinar is being recorded and it will be uploaded to our blog, so we will send that out to everyone who is registered. So don't worry about taking any notes. So just a couple of housekeeping items just to start off with. First off, your audio is muted, so you can hear us, but we can't hear you. If you have any questions, please feel free to use the questions panel on the side panel that you've got open for GoToWebinar. Feel free to type them in and we'll answer them at the end of the presentation if we've got time for everything, and if we don't, we will make sure that we get back to you ASAP after the webinar. As you can see, here's the blog where we'll have the webinar uploaded shortly. Just to give you a bit of a background on Navigo for anyone who doesn't know who we are, Navigo has been around since 2007, and we specialize in niche solutions for enterprise HR systems. So we have over 600 customers in Australia and New Zealand, and our headquarters and where we're running everything today is in our Melbourne office. Some of the main products that we have at the moment are we have an employee onboarding tool called HR Onboard. We also have a couple of org charting tools, one called Org Plus, which a lot of people have heard of before, and also Planning at Work, which is another one of our tools. And we also have a workforce analytics and workforce planning tool called Visio. So this is just some of what we have at Navigo. Now, our presenters today, we've got two presenters for you today. The first being Michael Specht, who is the head of our HR services and strategy. Mike will be taking us through the start of the presentation, and then we'll be jumping over to Grant Cumming. Grant is one of our business development managers here at Navigo, and he'll be running through the end of the presentation. So I'm just going to pass you across to Michael now. Michael, thank you very much for coming along.
Thanks, Ben. Welcome, everybody. So what we'll do is we're going to start with a little bit of an introduction on analytics, and then I'll be handing over to Grant, who will be actually running through some practical examples, and then we're going to finish up with some pitfalls. So the first thing we thought we would do is we thought we would start with a poll. So you should see a poll coming up on your screen, and really what we're looking at is basically how are you delivering reports and analytics to your managers today. So there's a number of options there, the first being your core HRIS, the next being Excel spreadsheets, then we've got online dashboards, and then if you're not doing it, or an other. How are we going then with the results?
So we're up to about 45% at the moment, so we're just going to let it go for just a minute longer just to try and get a better idea of where people are. It's actually going quite fast, so quickly get your votes in if you want to have your say in this. Cool, all right, well, we're up to a nice number there, so I'm going to close down the poll and release it out to everyone. So hopefully you can see it on your screen. So Michael, is that what you expected?
Yeah, it is actually. 65% using Excel spreadsheets. And interestingly, everybody who's on the call is delivering some form of reports and analytics to managers, which is really good. 20% you're using their core HRIS or similar. So this is not surprising, and it's the sort of thing that we see quite often, is that HR departments are still delivering analytics using very basic tools. And so what we've got here is, not surprising. This is an HR analytics maturity model. Some of you may have seen this before. It was created by Bersons by Deloitte. And really they've got a 4-level maturity model on analytics. And what we're looking at is most organisations, 56% in this case, are at that level 1, really doing ad hoc reactionary And then 30% are into that sort of proactive, some advanced reporting. And based on the statistics sort of that we're seeing in that poll, we're seeing sort of most people are at that basic level. And one of the interesting things, and we'll get into this in a bit more detail, is we see the org chart is a nice way to start moving up the maturity model from level 1 to level 2. And as it is a maturity model, you've actually got to go through all phases. And this is some US data, and if any of you have seen the Navigo Research HR Technology Survey, which is Australian data, about 60% of organisations are either providing basic list type reports or basic metrics to managers. Very few are actually providing the predictive modelling, which is those higher order things in the Burson report. But what we want to do now is sort of talk a bit more about some trends that are shaping the world. And one of the things which I thought would be interesting to share with participants as we start is last month I attended the HR Technology Conference, the international one in Las Vegas. And everywhere we looked and every session was covering data analytics. You almost couldn't go to a stand, you couldn't enter a session without the presenters talking about data analytics. And I want to touch on a couple of the sessions because they really highlighted some of the trends we're seeing. The welcoming keynote was given based around this book, The Decoded Company. And really this book identified 3 big macro trends that are going on. The first being data abundance, then we've got personalization, and then we've got a talent shortage. And so by data abundance, what they mean is really we've got lots and lots of data. In fact, we've got too much data. And if you've got a smartphone, you're generating so much data it's not funny. In Australia, something like 88% of us have smartphones. And this proliferation of data is just increasing. We're starting to see wearables come into the marketplace, and what we now have is more information than we've ever had before. But there's a real problem, is a lot of our management practices and processes were built in an era of data scarcity. So what that means is, we built up our performance management processes, we built our salary planning processes when we didn't have access to a lot of these data. And a lot of our management practices are really old school in that regard. The next big trend was on personalization and being able to deliver personalized information. As consumers, we're seeing personalized information coming out of Amazon. In the US, you're able to get Netflix and personalized recommendations, and even the dating game has changed a lot with tools such as RSVP or even the mobile tool Tinder is really starting to personalize what's given out to consumers, and our employees are starting to expect that. The other big trend was the talent shortage, and for HR practitioners, this shouldn't come as a big surprise. We've had surveys, in the US there was a manpower survey which said basically 30% of employers were unable to fill key roles. But it's not just filling roles, it's actually keeping the right talent is very, very important. And this also means that if we look at the data abundance and personalization as 2 big macro trends, employees' expectations are also changing. And the talent shortage is also being seen in Australia. A Chandler McLeod white paper from earlier this year on skill utilisation in the Australian workforce found that 91% of Australian employers had or felt they had a skills shortage. Now, this is all really good. And what the welcoming keynote went on to sort of cover off is this decoded model, as they put it, which is basically 3 things to try and help you operate in this new world. And I think some of them are very relevant when we start talking around analytics for HR. The first one is thinking of technology as a coach versus a referee. And what we mean by that is historically technology systems have been more of a backwards-looking type thing. We get historical reports coming out, or it's a compliance type thing where it's telling me I'm only allowed to give so many performance ratings. So it's really trying to flip technology on its head and trying to use it as a coach, being able to look forward, be more predictive. The next big thing which they said is start using data as a sixth sense, which sounds a bit funny, but really what we're trying to do, and this is the whole key for analytics, is being able to make better business decisions. And an example that was covered was UPS, which is the parcel delivery service in the US. Basically what they did is they went and looked at all of their data, and they found that, looked at all of their routes, and basically what they did is they changed all of their routes to remove left turns, which might sound funny. But what that did is that was able to save them time, i.e. deliver more parcels, but also save them costs with fuel. So really starting to look at the data that we've got and try and work out what we can do with it was a really important message. Now the engineered ecosystems, just as an aside, really doesn't have a lot to do with data analytics, but it does have a lot to do with sort of the workplace. And basically it's thinking about how do we build our workplaces to create a specific outcome. It's about building that culture. And that's sort of really what a lot of us do from a day-to-day basis. So that was a really interesting sort of introduction to sort of the conference. One of the next sessions which Trent attended was one which was called Analytics, the Future of HR. And Jeremy Sapiro, the Executive Director of Human Resources at Morgan Stanley, put together these 5 bullet points as a bit of a survival guide for HR. The first 2, I think, are fairly self-explanatory. Really, you've got to understand your organization's strategy, but really HR needs to now move to become fearless. Let's really get over the fear of doing things. But the last 3 were interesting, and they directly relate to analytics, and they directly relate to sort of the topic that we're here today to talk about. One is to start getting a comfort with numbers, and he wasn't saying that we all need to become data scientists or statistical experts, really just at a basic level, but also start developing root cause analysis skills. And then the real key, and this came out through a lot of sessions, is develop the basics of storytelling. A couple of months ago we ran a webinar looking at sort of analytics in a broader sense, and really one of the things that was coming up there is whenever we give our managers a number, be it like turnover, we start getting this, well, what, why, how? So you start getting all of these questions coming up. And what Jeremy was really saying is, as HR practitioners with our analytics, we need to be able to get them to help us tell a story about what's going on within our organization. And sort of, this is where we sort of start to see one solution to helping us is the humble org chart. And the reason being, and this is it was a profound quote, I thought, out of a session I attended, which was called Computational HR, which was John Sumser, an HR technology industry veteran, basically said the challenges deploying all these cool new technologies is to ensure we're not requiring the HR or managers to relearn their professions. There's no point, basically what he's saying is there's no point having a lot of these fancy tools or technologies if we're requiring people to have to relearn what they do. Because really, technology today is not the limitation. It's actually the change management around it. And one of the things, that really simple and easy way we see to start looking at this is through an org chart. Predominantly because managers, employees, and HRs can all relate to the org chart because it's a common sort of thing. The other thing which is really, really good about the org chart is it allows you to roll up information. because that's the way we like to see a lot of our information that's rolled up. And at that point, I'm going to hand over to Grant.
Hello, everyone. So just moving on from where Michael left off. So really in today's rapidly evolving marketplace, keeping your people aligned to success really requires deep understanding and flexibility. Change happens fast and organizations need to react quickly. When you are asked to reorganize or start a new department to meet changing business needs, you need your critical organizational data at your fingertips to make the best decisions. But this can be easier said than done. Why is that? Well, typically HR data is spread across departmental charts, talent and ERP systems, spreadsheets and other tools. Attempting to piece together an accurate version of the truth can be a formidable challenge. It can also be inefficient and inconvenient. So how can you effectively plan for the future? You need a solution that lets you see the whole of your company in a few simple steps. Enter the humble org chart. Hierarchy-based analytics allows you to see how HR metrics affect the organization in a powerful visual way. So let's have a look at some examples of this. Calculate metrics and measures that roll up the organization's structure and use color-coded conditional formatting to spot issues. Conditional formatting is easily configurable to your organizational requirements. Easily identify part-time staff, casuals, contractors and vacancies, and ensure that FTE roll-up matches headcount. An establishment view now makes it very easy to visualize whether an employee holds a substantive position or if they are currently acting in their role. Seeing this in a hierarchy view makes this very easy to visualize. Another data cleansing function is being able to very quickly identify orphans within your source of truth. Metrics concerning span of control are easily visualized using the hierarchy view, as these metrics directly relate to your organizational hierarchy. Do you have areas of your organization where managers are overworked due to having too many direct reports? Or maybe you have managers that are being underutilized. Conditional formatting using parameters relevant for your organization enable you to quickly identify areas of concern. Visualize and manage gender diversity across certain departments or your entire organization. Conditional formatting and required metrics can be applied to this view using parameters relevant to your organizational requirements. Be able to offer this information on demand to your line management so they are able to factor this information into their hiring decisions for new or vacant positions. Are you required to report these metrics? If so, generate gender diversity reports quickly and easily with the option to export to familiar document formats. Generation diversity visualization can assist with your restructure planning, succession planning, and recruitment process. Do your department heads mostly consist of baby boomers? Do you have limited generation diversity across areas of your business which could be missing out on wisdom that only comes with experience, or maybe an energetic, youthful perspective? Being able to view these metrics in a hierarchical view enables much clearer visualization and reliable company-specific analysis data. Manage potential leave liability issues before they become an issue using conditional formatting as a visual alarm. Should your department heads have on-demand access to these metrics? If they should, but do not currently, who manages this risk and how? Once again, have the option to allow on-demand access to these metrics to line managers across your organization to assist with managing these requirements. Apply formulas to these metrics for a clearer overall picture of your annual leave statistics across your entire company or specific areas of your organization. A talent management view could focus on performance and potential. Being able to see performance and potential indicators for your employees across your organization will allow you to quickly identify areas of required workforce improvement. Have the ability to analyze the workforce and managers using these indicators in conjunction with compensation elements such as salary, bonus, and benefits. Tenure and job role can be included for more informed analysis. Compare multiple employees' data for easy comparison. This will allow your decision makers to make informed decisions when evaluating performance reviews, restructure planning, and succession planning. Compare and use this data to create succession plans and manage both redundancy and growth. See your succession plans in action to ensure viability. Have the option to allow on-demand access to these succession planning tools to relevant decision makers with full security over viewing and editing of these succession plans, or once again, you can share using familiar document formats. Manage department budgets. Visualize budget metrics across your organization using up-to-date source of truth data. Utilize the hierarchy view to quickly identify areas of focus to plan for growth or restructure. Understand cost issues at the individual manager level, which is particularly valuable when multiple managers occupy the same cost center. Also, be able to visualize other organization hierarchies, such as a cost center hierarchy. Easy to use tools such as split screen enable you to create truth. Utilizing this functionality makes dealing with data cleansing issues such as broken hierarchies very easy to identify and rectify. Add, remove, or modify managers, assistants, or subordinates, and visualize how this will affect your organization. Once we like how our restructure looks, how do we know how this will affect other organization metrics such as budget, gender diversity, generation diversity, or even span of control? Use metrics from other analytical views, such as the budget view, to ensure informed decisions. Have the ability to add metrics, such as salary, as you create new roles to give you instant visibility as to how this will affect departments, branch, or entire organizational budgets. Any view that you have created, such as gender diversity, employment type, or even generation diversity, can be utilized as long as the required metrics are available. Finally, have the ability to create advanced reports using any field available from your source of truth. Have the flexibility to apply as many conditions as required to find and report on metrics no matter how detailed or complicated in nature. If you have reports that are regularly used, have the ability to save them for easily accessible future use. As you have full access security control, Anyone across your organization will be able to take advantage of this functionality, but only with the data they have access to. And once again, have the option to export these reports for further analysis or use within other analytical tools. So with these examples, it is easy to see how org charting is a simple, cost-effective yet very powerful solution. The software as a service or on-premise platform consolidates all of your critical HR, talent and organizational data into a comprehensive yet easy to use visual system, so you can gain insight into headcounts, budgets, performance, structure and more all in one place. Utilizing org charting for basic workforce analytics makes your business truly agile and easy to plan and enact transactions from a secure and customizable interface. Have the option to save your work with familiar document formats, once again, for easy presentation and communication. It's fast, effective and powerful, so when business environments change, you're ready to adapt. And that's all from me. Back to you, Michael.
Okay. Thanks, Grant. What we're going to do is just quickly touch on a couple of last-minute topics before we take some questions. One of the challenges and pitfalls we see in most organisations, or anybody really starting to get into analytics, once you've got over the technical challenges, one of the biggest hurdles and pitfalls we see organisations doing is they say, my data's bad, therefore I can't do it. And well, the good thing to know is that you're not alone. Virtually every organisation says they're in this sort of situation. And the thing is, HR data is really inherently bad, if we want to use that term in inverted commas. It's usually stored, as Grant said, across multiple systems. It can be hard to integrate. It's constantly changing. But the real thing is you need to know is don't let this stop you from delving into analytics and starting the journey. Nothing cleans your data faster than getting it out there for people to see. And you can do that by starting to open up through an org chart. Remember, an org chart is that way that managers, they feel comfortable with it, they can understand it. It's something that's familiar, and it's a good way to sort of start, if we remember that maturity model, start moving up the maturity of being able to deliver these analytics out to managers. And one way that you can actually use a project such as this to help clean your data is using the org chart. HR could use that conditional formatting that Grant spoke about to start identifying big issues. And then as you roll out the tools and start delivering the information to managers, they'll start to actually identify, oh no, I've actually got 3 more people reporting to me, or actually no, you don't have the right gender makeup. I've got more females or more males. So you're able to start collecting that. And employees, when they actually start looking at the data, they're able to clean it up as well. So one of the really nice things about and sort of an org chart and starting to roll this out into your organisation is it helps clean your data. It starts to actually allow you to get metrics and information out. You can start through these charts using conditional formatting or something, be able to start delivering these stories to your managers, and it's starting you on that journey of moving up to the maturity model of analytics. So what we'll do now, I think, Ben, is we might take a couple of questions.
Cool, thanks Michael and thanks Grant. If you have a look at the side panel for GoToWebinar, there is a place where you can actually ask some questions. So if you do have any questions, feel free to type them in and we'll answer them as soon as we can. The first one that's come through is actually, either one of you can probably answer this, is what size organizations do we generally work with?
Oh, I guess Navigo works all sorts of sizes. from mainly sort of mid-range, but from 100 employees up to organisations of tens, 30, 40,000 employees.
So it's quite a wide.
Very wide. And I guess from an analytics, if you just talk analytics perspective, as soon as you've got more than probably 50 employees, you're starting to get to a point where you need to start thinking about your workforce and what sort of information managers and the executive team want.
Cool. Okay, so the next question is, where is the data stored? So is it in a separate HRS? Where does the data actually come from that we're using?
In that, those examples that Grant was showing, that is data that comes out of an HRS, but technically it could come out of multiple data sources and come together. That particular tool, Planning at Work, that Grant's showing, that's a cloud-based SaaS, and so you can provide whatever data you want to it.
Cool. Next one is, what is a good starting point for an organisation to look at when attempting analytics for the first time?
That's a fantastic question. There's a couple of things to do. When you're starting an analytics project, you really don't want to overdo it. So I'd recommend what you do is go to your CEO and ask them what are the 3 things they want to know about the workforce. And that's where you should start.
Cool, good answer. All right, so we've got time for maybe one more. So the last one we're going to say today is how manual or automated is the org chart?
In that regard, the demo, the org chart is fully automated. So it's based on, as Grant was saying, hierarchies. So it's whatever hierarchy of who reports to who. A lot of the time you get that in your core HRIS, and then that is one of the key drivers to develop the org chart.
And just to expand on that, that information can be scheduled to be run and presented out via any of the tools, so Org Plus and Planning at Work, so you don't have to actually touch it at the end of the day. It can just work in the background.
So as you make changes in your core HRIS, they update it automatically in the org chart.
All right, fantastic. Well, look, we've run out of time now. There's a couple of questions here that we didn't get to, but we will get back to those people. So please feel free to keep typing in if you do have a question, and we will get back to you on that. So I just wanted to thank everyone for joining us today, and I hope that you learned something that's new and might help you work a bit more efficiently. Again, if you've missed anything during the webinar, please feel free to give us a call, and we're more than happy to talk through anything. And as I mentioned earlier, we will be sending out a link to everyone who registered to the webinar to have a look at our blog, which will have the recording. So you can have a look through this again or pass it on to anyone else who you think might be interested. So big thanks to Michael and Grant for presenting today. Thank you very much. And I hope everyone has a fantastic day. All right, see ya.